Hi, and welcome to another video by Jim the Car Guy. Today we have a 2003, it's a Toyota Tundra with a 4.7 liter engine. The problem we have with this one today is I had this customer come in. He's been here before. He's a little bit tight with money, which I understand. He came into me yesterday, dropped the vehicle off, and he told me to replace this sensor, the oxygen sensor. I have a suspicion that this sensor is probably extremely rusty. Otherwise, I think he would have put it in himself. That's what I think. But, you know, sometimes customers don't tell you the whole truth. They tell you what they want you to know, and then you have to try to figure it out from there. But whatever it is, the customer's always right. So we all got to lift this up. Let's take a look at it. I'm going to bring you along, and we're going to see if I'm going to pull out the little bit of hair I have left on my head. Because, like I said, I have a suspicion that this thing is in pretty bad shape. So, all right, let's take a look at it, and we'll see where we go. Okay, before we go up front, and I'm going to show you where the sensor is located, I just want to explain to you one thing. When it says Bank 2 Sensor 1, that means that it's in wherever number 1 cylinder is bank number 1. So in this case, it's bank number 2, which means it's the opposite side of bank number 1. So in this particular case, I believe it's on the right side, and sensor 1 means the sensor that's up in the front of the engine, closest to the engine. Sensor 2 being the sensor that's further downstream of the engine itself. So, all right, so bank 2, sensor 1 means the bank that does not have number 1 in it, and it's also the sensor which is up number 1, which is closest to the engine itself. So let me see if I can get a picture on the computer. I'll show you where it's located, and then we're going to get underneath there, and we're going to take care of this and get this job done. So come on, let's take a walk in the back. Okay, so this is the schematic of where the sensors are located. Bank 2, sensor 1. It's on the right side, right down on the manifold itself. You can see where it's underneath the bottom right there. Sensor 2 being down here behind or right in the back of the cat. All right, so all right, let's lift it up and let's continue. Okay, so this is underneath the vehicle. That's sensor number 2, which is in the back of the cat. And this is sensor number 1. As you can see, sensor number 1, somebody's already been in here, cut the wires off, and as you can guess, stripped out that oxygen sensor. So I'm going to try getting on there with a socket, and we'll see if we can get it out. So, all right, let me get set up, and we'll continue. Okay, let me explain to you what happened with this vehicle. You saw how somebody had cut that wiring off, and they tried to take it off. That oxygen sensor is almost totally rounded off on the bottom. The reason that it's rounded off is because if you don't use the correct tool from the start, you're going to have a problem. I guarantee what this guy did is he took a socket like this that's made specifically to take off oxygen sensors. But what happens is when you put this sensor on here, it's supposed to go in here just like this and fit nice and tightly. This fits fairly tight, but that one up there, it's a little rusted, so it didn't fit exactly tight. Now you see this slot that's inside here? When you get a sensor like this and the sensor is in the manifold for 200,000 miles, it does become very tight to get that out. What happened is most likely he got on this with a ratchet, and he tried to get this sensor out. But when you put extra force on this, these jaws tend to open up. Even if you have a good socket, like a snap-on socket, that does happen. I also use a 1/2-inch drive socket as well. This one I'm not going to do that with, and the reason I'm not going is because it's already stripped off, it's already rounded off. So we're not going to do that. The one that I use, which is the best for me, is this one here. Not that I'm pushing one over the other. I think this one is made by Matco, or I'm not even sure. I can't read what it says on it, but I don't know if it's a Matco or it's an S&K or what it is. But this one seems to work the best. When I get on the oxygen sensor with this one here, it never opens up these jaws. You can see how thick this is. So I'm not going to say never. 99% of the time, these jaws never open up and you can get this out. In this case, I'm not going to use it on there, and the reason I'm not going to use it is because it's already rounded off up underneath there. So chances are this is not going to work as well. what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here with a socket like this. It catches it all the way around. They already cut the wiring off underneath the bottom there, so it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. We're not going to need it. So enough BS. Let's get up underneath there. Let's put this socket on there. We are going to use a 1/2-inch drive because I know it's very tight. I am going to use a breaker bar, such as this here, to give me extra leverage. So we're going to put this on here. We're going to get up underneath the bottom, and we're going to crack it loose. All right, let's see what happens. Come on, take a walk underneath there, and let's see what goes on. Okay, let's give it a try. We'll see what happens. All right, so we got to make sure we get our socket on there nice and tight, and then we'll crack it loose. Actually, wow, to be honest, it came out really easy. I think I might have spoken too soon. Let's get a regular ratchet. A breaker bar is good to break it loose. And then we'll get on here with a regular socket. You just rock it back and forth. Sometimes you can get it out. Okay, and that is our old sensor. All right, let me unplug that harness now, and we'll see if the connector is going to work. Let's see if I can get the hand in there. All right, that's in a really tight spot. I need 2 hands to get up there, but I can only get up there with 1. So I'm going to take a screwdriver and I'm going to push on the side of it and try to pop it loose. We're going to lower this down, and we're going to get up top. I don't think I can get it here. Let's try it and see. We're going to lower this truck down, and we'll take that sensor out from the top. Okay, let's give it a shot from the top here. We'll see how it does. Most of the time you can gain access to it pretty easily up underneath here. So this is our plug now. We're going to try to unplug it. We're just going to push in on a tab. Okay, it came right out, and it pops right out. All right, we just push on that little tab. But before we do anything, let me get that new sensor and make sure that we plug in okay. It does plug in, so let me lift this back up. Okay, so, well, before you put an oxygen sensor in, always make sure you have the anti-seize or never seize on the threads right here. It makes it go in a lot easier. This one already has it, so we are going to screw this in by hand now as far as we can, and then we'll tighten it up. Okay, now we have it tightened up by hand. We're going to get up there with that socket that we have for the oxygen sensor, and we'll tighten it up. Watch you don't damage your cable. All right, it's nice and tight. We're going to plug this right in now, back into the harness up there. All right, so that's it. We're all done. All right, vehicle's done. We're going to lower it down now off the lift. We're going to take it for a test drive. That's the old sensor that came out. Customer also tells me he does not even want me to put the scanner on it to find out what the code was or to even clear the code out. I'm assuming he's probably going to do it himself, being that he knew what the code was already. And that's it. We're done. So I'm going to take it for a drive, make sure everything is okay. And that's it. Out the door and on to the next one. All right, as always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.